Welcome to the latest Seahawks Draft blog, Instant Reaction. Obviously not a live stream today because I'm in Seattle and so is Robbie, and that really has been the best thing about the weekend so far, is meeting Robbie in person and us being able to do this in person. But Robbie, let's talk about the game. That was an incredibly frustrating opening day. I've had a look on Twitter at what people are saying, and people are, they're blaming different things. They're blaming either Tariq Woolen for the way that he played on the final drive. People are talking about the offense and the plan that Clint Kubiak came up with. I think it's a sort of a combination of things. For me, I don't understand how you have shown against the Chiefs such an effective running attack. That is what our identity is going to be. This is the kind of team we want to be. And then you come out today and it was just trying to make tricky plays. Yeah. It felt like every single drive they were trying something tricky. From Jalen Milroe getting a QB draw on the first drive to, later in the game in the second half, in a half where they only scored 3 points, where you get a drive, think, okay, now's the time to get something going. You get the run game going, and you've got Darnold going one way, and then he's throwing back into traffic on a screen, and then they do it. You said they did it 3 times in the half. Yeah. All of that kind of stuff. It did not feel to me like an offense that it established the identity it was going to be and executed a game plan. And you have had the whole summer to come up with an offense that can test this defense. So, look, we'll get through some of the main things. That was sort of where my blame immediately goes to, that offensive plan. It was ugly, it was confusing, they just didn't execute. What's your sort of initial thought here?
I think a lot of the same things frustrated me. I think on the offensive side of the ball, I kept saying I didn't understand Clint Kubiak's design and play calling. Like, it didn't make a lot of sense. I didn't understand why he went away from things that were working. For example, Zach Charbonnet in the first half had 11 carries for 40 yards. He got 1 carry in the second half. It made no sense. They kept Kenneth Walker on the field a lot. They talked about Charbonnet being a impact player, and quite frankly, they didn't have great things to say about Kenneth Walker. They didn't say anything bad. Mostly just that they needed him to be, eligible to play, but he looked, as you pointed out during the game, as someone who just doesn't look like he fits the offense. I feel like Charbonnet had a lot of opportunity. When he got the ball, he looked explosive. He looked like he was hitting the lanes fast. He looked like he knew where he was going, and he fit the offense. And so I didn't understand the whole idea of taking him away. And again, just the play call and throw back into coverage, getting tricky and cute when you didn't really need to. I know time of possession was a huge difference. I think the 49ers had the football for 37 minutes and the Seahawks had it for 22. I mean, it's crazy that's what you're going to kind of go with. At least try to establish a couple first downs. Man, in the fourth quarter when they finally got a first down, we're like, when's the last time we felt like we got one of those, right? We were like, okay to get one of those. So,
and in order to get one, it needed Sam Darnold again on a tricky play, on a bootleg scramble. Yeah. It was a trick play. Yeah. It wasn't just sort of conventional offense. And it's such a baffling offensive plan and offense. Like it looked as if unless they were going to throw it to Jackson Smith-Njigba, nothing would work. Right. He was the only, there was nothing that involved like the tight ends or anything like that. There was no plan to get them involved. I don't really understand that. Cooper Kupp had a bad drop at one point, but he was pretty much anonymous in the game. Torrey Horton was anonymous. There were little things that the Niners were doing on offense. Well, when the Niners were hardly flawless on offense. Brock Purdy threw a couple of interceptions. Maybe should have had another one at the end. We'll talk about that in a bit. They made some mistakes. They were not always clean, but it just felt like throughout the game consistently they were able to sort of get their plays, get their yards and move the football. And for Seattle, it just felt like, wow, like it was a struggle to get any kind of positive momentum going. And to go back to the running backs, I just don't understand what they're doing with that. So you spend the whole summer, like you said, praising Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet, they clearly admire Zach Charbonnet. And with Ken Walker, they've been kind of like lighting a fuse under him a little bit and sort of saying things in the media which make you think they want him to hear this stuff. And then he starts the game. Yeah. And he's not getting anything. Like whether it's that he doesn't fit the offense, and maybe he doesn't, he just looks like a player that's playing with no confidence at all, that is just sort of questioning everything at this point. Almost looks a little bit like, I hate to say it, because I'm sure if he was here, he'd be massively offended by this, but kind of looked like he didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like it just, every single run felt like an absolute grind. Like there was no kind of hitting the hole with that bit of intensity and sort of driving through contact. And then Charbonnet, he did it, but he did it with 12 carries for 47 yards. Like if you have a running back who you really like and you talk up a lot, and he's running as productively as that, bear in mind, one of those carries was a goal line touchdown run, so he could only get X number of yards on that, whatever it was close on the goal line. So he's pretty much running at 5 yards a carry. How do you not just go with him? How do you not just say, okay, you're the guy today? We're going to run you. It felt to me like, with the way that this was going, if you were to say to me before the game, I think you need one of these running backs to have 20 carries, 25 carries, and that's how you're going to win the game. And for Charbonnet to have 12, and I think Ken Walker was like 10, and he got 20 yards or something like that. That's not a plan. That's not working. This is not going to work. This timeshare that they've tried with these two does not work. I thought Charbonnet looked like the better lead runner last year, and maybe Ken Walker has to be the complement, or maybe he just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And I don't feel any differently today. People keep talking about this amazing athlete that Ken Walker is. I don't think forcing. I think actually you might be doing yourself a disservice there, trying to force this sort of two-headed monster. Yeah. I think they need to run with Charbonnet, but regardless of who's running the football, the passing game can't just be, let's hope that Jackson Smith and Jigba can make a play. Yeah. And that's what it was today.
Yeah, there's no offensive identity. And I think that's where it's really confusing. I think going into the season, I was really kind of hopeful that Clint Kubiak would have a good idea how to establish the team differently. And I didn't see a huge difference between this and a Ryan Grubb offense.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, it felt crap.
It did feel as if we don't really know how to establish a running attack here. Yeah. It was balanced, I think, at least we looked at the box score at a certain point.
It was balanced, but it was like you didn't go with a hot hand, which was Charbonnet. You just were trying to force something. Man, I think I saw A.J. Barner had a carry for 2 yards. I don't know where that came from.
He did the tush push.
Oh, he did the push. Okay, yeah. So,
It just... I mean, to come back to it, your opening drive, I've not really understood all this, that people love this. I saw when Jalen Milroe was active, people were getting excited about it. And listen, I'm not criticising Jalen Milroe because I know someone will comment in the comments saying that. I'm not criticising him, but for me, you have had a whole summer to plan this first drive. You know your opponent, you know who you're going to be facing because there's no injuries at that point. It's Fred Warner, it's Nick Bosa, it's those guys. And in your first drive, you're going to have him, was it a shotgun snap? Yeah. So it's not like a short yardage, tush push or whatever. You're going to have him take the snap. And I'm guessing they didn't want him to throw the ball there. No. I'm guessing that was a draw. And it didn't look particularly well executed, the whole thing. Yeah. From the blocking to the quarterback's body, he didn't... It just all looked wrong. And he got a yard or something, maybe no gain.
He gained some yards.
I don't understand why you're doing that.
Yeah.
And then that just followed on. Every drive would start. There was at one point, I think it may have been after the Josh Jobe interception, and we're saying, right, me and you were saying, come on, get something going now. This is when you've got to get your offense going. And the first play was for a loss of 8 yards because they tried something tricky and they tried to throw a screen to the sideline. Why are you doing that? Yeah. What if fully expected today? And I appreciate as someone who's never played the game or coached in the game and is just sat in the stands watching it, it's very easy for me to say, I was expecting them to run the ball, a bit of play action, some of the cross and route stuff that you see from Shanahan, all of that stuff. I don't feel like we saw a lot of that today. I thought we saw it almost like they bent over backwards not to do any of that stuff, to run a Shanahan offense. Outside zone, they started, it seemed like they were running the outside zone quite effectively early on. And then I think they had one negative play on it where they maybe went to the well too much, and we talked about it when we were sat. And then it was as if we can't do that anymore because they've kind of got an answer for that now. So then all the tricky stuff. And the other thing was, it didn't feel like they pushed the ball downfield at all in that game. And then when they had to do it, they get the deep pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, I mean, we've talked about a lot walking back from the stadium. One is, it is that fear that a lot of people talked about that you can't push the ball downfield with this personnel. Is that a more legit concern than I definitely thought? and maybe one or two others who've had similar opinions. Is that a problem now? And two, are they like, is there a reason why they're not doing it? Is it because of the personnel? Is it the quarterback they don't? Because they just did not test anything. Maybe it would have been a good idea, given nothing was happening, just to say, do you know what? We're just going to run 4 verts and just get downfield and let's see if we can get a chunk play to get things going here. Like that, there was none of that. It was all tricky at the line of scrimmage. Can we get 3 yards? I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. And going back to like kind of what you were talking about, the first drive, look what San Francisco did on the first drive. They started at their own 5 and they marched down the field. They took 10 minutes off the clock and scored. It's confusing, which by the way, I think the defense played phenomenal today, even though that first drive was annoying. But you have so much time and they did things very simple. They didn't overthink it. They didn't try to get super tricky. They ran the football. They
did what you'd expect them to do.
You do what you expect to do, right? And it's just frustrating to watch. And like, they started to do that, and they did that on the second drive, right? I mean, right? We started lining up in the I back. Fullback was making some great blocks, and we were like, this is why we drafted this guy. We were excited about it. And like Charbonnet was running well. We were getting good passes, and you go down and you score, and you answer back, and then you went away from it. And it just, none of it makes any sense.
It was as ugly a offensive performance as I think you will ever see. Now, I suppose it is worth saying that there is a lot of ugly offensive football in week 1. So because the Seahawks look this bad on offense today, it does not mean that they're going to look this way every week.
Sure.
And I suppose the problem is as we were saying as well, I'm probably going to keep saying this, on the long walk, it's about 30 minutes to the hotel. Yeah. The problem is that you play the Steelers on the road next week.
Yep.
And they have just won a shootout with the Jets.
Yeah.
And if you are not dramatically better next week, you are going to lose again.
Yeah.
And then you are in an 0-2 hole, scrambling around, trying to get this offense going. And it can easily still happen. It doesn't mean that's that, but you could hear it already. The first thing we heard when we were leaving the stadium was a guy shouting. I mean, it was straight away. There was a guy shouting about Geno Smith's better than Sam Darnold. Yeah. And the Patriots are not a very good team. I think that was a good first opponent for Pete Carroll and Geno and the Raiders, but they won the game.
Yeah.
And Geno had a couple of touchdowns, I think, or he played well enough to get the win.
He had 380 some yards.
And every single time there's a game where the Raiders have a game like that, and the Seahawks, especially with the Seahawks play on offense like this, that's going to come up. Now, I agreed with what you said on the walk, was that you felt that the problem was the play calling and the plan, and I agree 100% with that. However, you do wonder a little bit whether is that plan because of maybe they don't have the faith in the quarterback to do as much as we kind of need him to do right now. Darnold did okay.
Yeah.
If he'd have pulled out a game-winning drive at the end with the big pass downfield, if instead of it getting fumbled, if he just had that little bit of extra time and he throws it in the end zone and it's a touchdown, and we sat here going, fair play, clutch.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter comeback, got the job done. I mean, that's the fine margins of it. But every single week will be a referendum on him.
Yep.
Whether he is the guy, whether they've made the right decision, whether we need to be talking a little bit of every episode about the latest from the world of quarterbacks in college football.
Yeah.
That is going to be a thing. And I have to say, Robbie, whether it was Kubiak the main reason to blame or not today, that was not a performance from Sam Darnold that is going to have people thinking, we've got our guy.
Yeah, I mean, you want your quarterback to elevate even with bad play calling. And I think you could see that with a lot of great quarterbacks. And so he wasn't lights out by any means. He didn't instill a lot of faith in me, think that he's going to be the guy going forward. On the positive side, I can say that Jackson Smith and Jigma looks amazing, but he can't be the sole purpose of the offense. He can't just look his way. We got to get the tight ends involved more, other wide receivers. I think that he had one pass to Arroyo that was clearly off. He either ran the wrong route or Donald.
Yeah, it was Barner, actually.
Or was it Barner? Yeah. It's just like it was not there, and maybe over time as the season goes along, they'll start to develop that chemistry and connection. But yeah,
it just looked really basic.
It's going to be a lot of question marks.
It was basic, and the creative was creatively
Bad.
misplaced.
Yeah.
Like it was the bad kind of creative.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I know Elijah Arroyo's a rookie. Maybe this will be a red shirt year for him, or often is, and there's no pressure. But I think if you're going to draft it, I think he's a quality player. Why do they not have a few plays for him today where he's running that seam?
Yeah.
Why are they? If you need somebody who can get down, why haven't you brought that person in?
Yeah.
Or why did you get rid of Marquez Valdez? If he was the only player on the team who could do it, it's okay protecting, Derek Young and Cody White. Well, if they ain't contributing, and if he's just somebody who last season in this offense made some deep plays for you, you're going to second guess things like that after a performance like this. Before we talk about the defense, I do want to say I thought the Niners were really good today. And if they have a better kicker, I mean, that's the thing. If you're a Niners fan, the Niners fans who were doing things like we're doing here, and their media will go, yeah, great, but the kicker's a problem. Like you are going to be nervous about him. If I were them, I'd cut him. Because he's the kind of player that he could maybe get through a whole regular season without a back-breaking miss. In the playoffs, you're going to be thinking, can we trust this guy? Yeah. And you never want to be in that place. So I think they've got to move on. I know they spent a third-round pick on him, whatever it was, but I think they've got to move on. But look, fair play to them. Purdy made a couple of interceptions. Ernest Jones' interceptions, unbelievable. We'll talk about the defense in a second. He had some unwise throws, but he also had the throws he needed to win the game. Defensively, you have to say, to an extent, it's not just Seattle's fault. The Niners were there as well, and they took away a lot of Seattle's stuff and did an excellent job. And as someone who has said throughout the offseason, I think the Niners are a spent force. I think they've kind of had the time, and I think the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West, and been very, very positive about the Seahawks winning the NFC West. You have to acknowledge the better team won today. Yeah. And it wasn't close. They are a better football team than the Seahawks on that evidence. Now, in a few weeks' time, it might be different. Look, the Seahawks started 3-0 last year, and then fell apart. Sure. So 6 weeks into the season, we'll get the Seahawks. If the Seahawks are 4-2 after 6 games, we'll be thinking, hey, remember when we had that chat in an empty room in a hotel, and we said all this stuff, and now we're in a different place. But on that evidence, the Niners are better. A lot better, in my opinion. The Seahawks were lucky that they had a chance to win the game at the end. The defense kept them in it, and special teams. And on another day, that would have been no different than the last time I was here in Seattle watching that same game on Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, when it was a handsome win for the Niners. Yeah. If they finish and they execute better, and the kicker kicks his kicks, that's a bit of a pasting, really.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, and I do think the Niners are a good football team. I think the end play there by Tariq Woolen, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, that could have been Purdy's third pick. So, though I do think ugly football was played on both sides, I think the defense is going to continue to get better. Woolen, I think, in my opinion, is going to be a liability for the team. If he just would attack that football a little bit more, interception, and we could be talking about a whole different game. And, the defense, in my opinion, looked like a top 10 defense in the NFL. The way they played and were running around, they looked amazing. And I was really, really happy to see that. I think the offense is a hindrance and going to be what we're probably going to be talking about a lot after the season, after every single game. But I hope as the season progresses, as you said, maybe 6 games, we're 4-2 and the offense has started to figure it out and click. And that's my hope, right? That's what we're looking for. But I think the defense is going to carry us this year.
Well, let's talk about the defense, because it's a funny game to analyse the defense, because on the one hand, they obviously kept Seattle in the game. Yeah. Some big plays, some big interceptions, some stops, narrowing things in favourable positions for the Niners, forcing them to go for 2 kicks that they didn't score from. Yeah. Effectively turnovers on downs because of that. The blocked kick was from one of your star defenders, Julian Love, making the play, not a special teamer doing that. The Ernest Jones interception is probably as good an interception as you'll see all year, really. To get up there and do that. It reminded me, people I don't play Madden anymore because I think the game's a load of rubbish and they've got rid of the franchise mode that was good. But in old Madden games, you would throw over the middle, and the linebacker would improbably like elevate to intercept the pass, and you were like, he's not Superman. Like, how is the game allowing this to be a thing?
Yeah.
And that was kind of how it was with Ernest Jones. It was like one of those interceptions. It was an amazing play, but we'll talk about Woolen separately. There were some times where it was the Niners kind of got what they needed a little bit easier than you would have hoped. There was maybe not quite as much pressure at times that you'd have hoped for. Is that because they're tired, potentially?
I mean, they spent 40 minutes on the field.
There were...
Out of a 60-minute game, they spent 40 minutes on the field.
I mean, again, I don't know. It's hard to sort of say who played well and who didn't, unless there's egregious plays like Woolen's.
Well, there was a couple questionable ones, right?
I didn't think Tyrese Knight played very well today.
He played
I did not. That was a worry for me, because if he's not healthy and he's going to play like that, you have got no depth at linebacker.
The blitz, the corner blitz on third down, like what was it, third?
Oh my goodness.
3rd and 6.
What, the Witherspoon one from he basically blitzed from what's the state across from Washington?
Oregon.
Across? No, not down, or across. Was it Idaho?
Yeah.
He blitzed from Idaho for that. Like, what? We had a great view of it. It was like he set off running, and I was like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, he's blitzing from there. Like, he had to run 30 yards to get to the quarterback, and they just threw it where he blitzed from.
Yeah.
And it was a first down.
Oh, easy. It was like an 8-yard, a 9-yard pickup. The safety was so far off. It just made no sense. Yeah.
And, Leonard Williams, great as usual. Jaron Reed played well. Byron Murphy played well. Yeah, I don't think the edge rushers had enough of an impact in the game. That is a little bit of a worry for me. And again, I get tired.
Yeah.
But, you really want one of these guys to be the guy. And none of them are the guy. Like, they're just there. They're a decent sort of complementary group to, if you had someone who could really get after it. Let's talk about Woolen though, because on the one hand, he made an unbelievable play, like at full stretch, using every inch of that arm length to get across and tip a pass that was going to be a touchdown. I mean, we thought he'd actually dropped the football. It was that perfect. I think it was Pearsall. And it was on a plate for him, and we thought he dropped it from where we were sat. And then they showed the replay, and it was Woolen's deflection. Yeah. Remarkable play.
Yep.
And then I think it was the next drive. Like it
was literally the next drive.
You're watching that, and this is how bad the deep throw thing was. I didn't know it was Woolen. I turned to you and said, "Was that a linebacker on him in coverage?"
Yeah.
Because when I was watching it, I was thinking, what is he doing? Like, he's so slow.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't catch up. He turned too early, which then created extra separation. And then his recovery speed from that, I think it was too late at that point. I think the minute he turned around a split second too early, he'd lost the play.
Yeah.
But that is a huge throw downfield. If he plays that better, it could have had another pick. Because he had position. If he turns and he's at the right time, it's a bit like Cam Chancellor against the Niners in the NFC Championship game. He's deeper downfield, but he's turning, and he kind of like, it's on a plate for, he just reacts. But he turned too early, and it's a huge 40-yard giveaway, which puts them in position. And then, again, the defense narrows things. I think there was a false start or a holding or something which knocked them back. There was a penalty, I'm sure, which put them in a difficult place. And it's third down. Just get them off the field. They'll kick a field goal.
Yeah.
If they do that, then you haven't got to rush down the field, and you aren't having to necessarily throw the football in that situation. If you get down there, you're setting up a field goal to win the game, because I'm assuming that Moody even kicks the field goal, which nobody should assume.
Yeah.
And he just tosses it up, Purdy, and as it's coming down towards Woolen, he's going to pick this off. He's going to pick this off. He's in perfect place for it. And then Pearsall made an adjustment. Fair play to him, but Woolen cannot allow that to be caught.
Yeah.
Like, at the very least, you've got to man up there, and you've got to be stronger, and you've got to make sure that you've deflected that, you've got a hand on it. If you get it out, if you don't quite get there, you do something to disrupt the pass. You've got to break that up. If you don't, and that's if you're forgiving him for not intercepting it.
Sure.
I mean, he was soft as shit in that play,
Yeah.
and that's not good enough, Robbie. You cannot. If he's I think there was another cornerback who got paid the other day. There was the guy at Tampa Bay. And you're looking at all these numbers, and everyone's going, well, this might be a better frame. No, you cannot pay this guy.
No.
This is year 4.
Yeah.
for him now. And you cannot have, wow, that's an amazing play. What an athlete. What an incredible specimen he is. Oh, but he's given up 2 huge plays to lose you the game as well. You can't have that. You can't pay that guy tens of millions of dollars, I'm afraid.
And I wish this was the first time we could say that about him, right? But it's not. We've seen it time and time again. He's just not going to be worth the money that he's going to get. And I just think he costs him a game. He can't cost us a game against an NFC West team at all. Or any team. But like when you're playing a rival, I mean, yeah, you're right. It was a soft play. I thought for sure he was intercepted. I thought when he threw, I will say, the defense, as you were pointing out, the edge rushers, he had way too much time. Yeah. Purdy had way too much time. Scramble play, rolling around all the time, and just throws it up.
That was it. It was a throw. It was a hit and hope.
Threw it up, right?
Yeah.
Like
it was a duck.
Yeah.
Really, it was a better duck than Peyton Manning's ducks, but it was a duck. It felt like a duck. He just lobbed it up in the air.
Yeah.
Go and make a play on the ball.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, and there we go. Yeah. So they lose the game, and again, the perspective has to be that it's one game, it's week 1. There is, like I say, a lot of ugly football. Looking across the different results today, though, there doesn't seem to be any of those kind of moments. Like, well, the Browns nearly beat the Bengals. The Bengals got the job done.
Yeah.
All of the rest of the NFC West have won today. The Rams got a very impressive win against Houston.
Yeah.
The Niners have come to Seattle and won. The Cardinals, I'm guessing if you only beat the Saints by a touchdown, it's probably not a performance that are going to have Cardinals fans rushing to re-watch.
Yeah.
But they got the job done on the road in New Orleans. So everybody else won. You're the ones who lost. The people, the bookmakers saying Seattle's the 4th team in the NFC West, today look pretty smart. Me, who had a bet on the Seahawks to win the NFC West, looks pretty stupid and looks wrong. But it's hard. I don't think you can avoid sort of wondering, crap, you've got to go to Pittsburgh next week. Yeah. Like, the Steelers are not the Ravens or the Bills or the Chiefs or whatever, but maybe that's the one upset. It's the Chiefs losing to the Giants. I completely forgot about that game, but it was in Brazil, and they didn't play that bad on offense. You've got to go there, and to start 0-2 without a sort of an excuse for starting 0-2. Like when the Seahawks started 0-2 and when Cam was holding out.
Yeah.
Well, there's your excuse. The drama, missing a key player. He comes back, they win the next game. Cam makes a huge play to win the game on Megatron. What's the excuse if they go to 0-2 this time? It might be that they're not as good as I thought they were.
Yeah.
And I'll feel pretty stupid about that because I have been very positive over the summer, and I really hope they improve because this offense will not work. You cannot. You've got. Will they please just come up with an identity for the offense and stick to it? Like it's been year after year after year, the same problems with different coordinators and different head coaches now.
Yeah. Like
you can't keep banging your head against the wall with this. That plan on offense was just baffling, absolutely baffling, Robbie. And I don't know. Can you imagine, now that we've seen a game, can you imagine that working? Or, because can you imagine this? It's hard to right now. I'm not ruling it out, but it's really hard to sit here right now and think, next week Cooper Kupp's going to have 7 catches for 80 yards and they're going to stick with one running back in Charbonnet and he's going to get 20 carries for 100 yards. And when you watch that, you fear the worst.
Yeah.
You need to see to believe better can be possible at this point.
Yeah, I got to see it. And I do think it's possible. It's just hard to see right now. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I really don't want to spend this season talking about which quarterback they should draft. And I really don't want to spend this season talking about Geno Smith and Darnold. And I really don't want to talk about the offensive. Like, I think if this is, and again, I know people say, come on, it's 1 week. If this offensive staff doesn't, what the hell do you try next?
Yeah.
I feel like you've gone the McVay protege with Waldron, a bad one, but you went with one. You've gone with a college hotshot. You've gone with Marty Schottenheimer's son to try that sort of style. You've now gone
Who's
to
the head coach now, by the way.
Yeah. and you've now I'd actually had a good offensive performance, well, in the first half anyway, against the Eagles. You've now gone with this, and you think this has to work now.
Yeah.
You know, this has to be better than this. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of confused people sort of wondering how you get this going, and maybe they do need that extra weapon. I don't know, but
I do think the wide receivers are going to be a problem. If they're going to focus strictly on Jackson Smith, then they're going to need another weapon.
So what are you trade for Tyreek Hill? I mean, they've gone all the way through the years saying carrot to carrot. Our guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he is somebody who will probably be available.
Yeah, I mean, he threw a tantrum today.
Did he?
Yeah. So
well, he's going to be available, but they're not going to want to bring that here, surely.
No.
But desperate times, I guess. Like, I mean, that is.
Yeah. I mean, it is. As you rightly said, it is only week one that and I think I almost say this every year we've done this. Like, it always seems like there's really bad football week one, and I know the team will get better. I know the offense will get better. Man, it's just so frustrating to do it the first game against a rival, a team that you hate. They hate us. We hate them. It sucks.
The other thing I want to finish with, this is the final thing to finish with, and it's another home loss.
Yep.
And it felt for a while like there was a few of us who were talking about this. I think Softy would have sometimes talk about it on Twitter and his show. I think Aaron Levine's touched on it a couple of times. We've talked about it, but it was only this summer, really, that the team talked about it.
Yeah.
That Mike McDonald talked about, got to get home right. They've lost again.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to lose every other. They might win the rest of the home games, or they've got another 7 or 8. I can't remember, but they might win all the rest of the home games. But Robbie, it's a problem. Like teams are not. Like, again, it's one game, but it's years of evidence now. Teams do not fear coming to Seattle. Now, I have to say, because what people will say was, well, there's too many road fans there, and it's not as noisy. I have to say, I thought there'd be more Niners fans than there were today. I don't know if you disagree with that. I didn't think there was as many there today as there was for Thanksgiving. Now, I don't know if I'm just, in my head, sort of transformed Thanksgiving into, it was like 80% red or something. But I can remember the Green Bay game being really loud, and the Bills game being really loud, and my last experience, the Niners game being a lot of Niners fans there on Thanksgiving. I did not feel it was like that today. Yeah. I thought it was better today. I also think it was really loud. Like
really?
I thought it was really loud. Did you not think it was really loud?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you not think that was loud?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I guess, but I'm in my head, I can think to the LOB era where it was like, I couldn't hear myself screaming.
Okay.
And this, like, I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I tried to scream as much as I could, but it just doesn't, if I can hear myself screaming, it's like.
That's interesting, because I do not have as much experience of this stadium as you do. I did think there were times, especially in the first, I think in the second half, the offense was so bad. Yeah. It kind of knocked everybody. It was kind of an exhausting game to watch to an extent, because there were sort of, this is frustrating. Something great's happened, an interception. This is really frustrating. This is really, another big block to kick. Yeah. It was kind of like that. There was no time to sort of just sit back in your chair and bask, really, in an enjoyable experience. So I think that knocked. I thought it was okay. Maybe you think that that's a bigger problem than Robbie. Maybe you do think it was the Niners fans and the lack of noise. But you can't have a home record like this, and it's a division game as well. It's another Niners loss in Seattle. When's the last time the Seahawks? I mean, I guess it was when 2022, maybe 21, 22, when they last beat them. I seem to remember they were wearing the blue and grey that day as well. The running back who they drafted in round 7, Martin. So was it? I can't remember his name. He had a big play in the game, but the point I'm making is they're not good enough at home.
Yeah, that's true. It's frustrating.
Okay, well, I hope you've appreciated the fact we haven't done a live stream and we've done this instead. in an empty room in my hotel. So big thank you to the hotel for letting us use this room, because for a split second I didn't think they were going to. Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has said hello today.
A lot.
And to Nano, who has left a very generous gift for us at the hotel. It's been great to be back in Seattle. I do take full responsibility for the fact they've lost again, because my record coming to watch these games is not very good, and I promise to bear that in mind when I'm thinking about future trips. So anyway, like the video, give us your thoughts on the game in the comment section, subscribe, and the one thing is, whether you disagree or not, we're always going to tell it how it is. So we're not positive for the sake of it, we're not negative for the sake of it, we just say what we think, and you're always going to get that. So I hope you appreciate that in this video. Until next time, we're going to watch the Mariners tomorrow. Hopefully they've not used all their runs up today. Until next time.
The Mariners scored more than the Seahawks did today.
They did. The Mariners scored more than the Seahawks today. Yeah. Anyway, see you next time. Bye for now.